In terms of demand overall, I mean, I honestly thought that we would not hold up as well as we have. I was one of those guys who was out there saying, "Oh, look at coffee prices, there's going to be some repercussion here. The consumer's not going to continue to pay." And part of that was my own worldview, and part of it was what I was hearing from the roasters. They were the ones who were telling me, "Oh, we got through COVID, we raised prices, the consumer digested it fine, we didn't have to go down on our margins." Business was good, but now we're hitting the point where if we do another price increase, we're not confident the consumers are going to go for it. So,
Right.
for the last 12 months, I was kind of more of the mindset like, okay, we're going to start to see some slippage in demand. And to my surprise, and maybe I'm the only one in the world, overall, especially in destination markets, the feedback we've gotten from the roasting community and the results of publicly traded companies has been it's okay.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not gangbuster, but it hasn't really been demand destruction like we maybe would have anticipated. And it seems that the consumer has held up pretty well overall in those consuming countries. I
Mm.
do think when we talk about producing countries and we start talking about countries maybe with lower income levels, I think that's where some of the cracks are starting to show.
Mm.
And so I do think that we're starting to see some slippage. A big story lately was the ABIC Brazil demand estimate that they said, ooh, Brazil demand in the first quarter was down. I forget what the figure was, maybe 15%. It's a pretty big
Right.
number. And I had highlighted something earlier to some of my colleagues, and then I posted about it, which was Madagascar, which, tiny little country, big, well, not tiny country, it's a big country, but
Right.
you know, uh,
In terms of coffee
bigger than
demand.
Switzerland.
Right.
Um, but they usually consume all their coffee, and this year they've exported 220,000 bags.
Mm.
And so it was kind of like, oh, well, why are they exporting? Is it because the production's higher? And the answer is no. It's that they're not consuming all of the coffee locally, and so that's freeing up the coffee to be exported in that case. So I do think
Mm.
that we're having those pockets where it's not global demand is all perfect, but I think
Right.
when you talk about what we visibly think of as demand in terms of being the main Asian markets, the US, Canada, and Europe, I think that has held up pretty well.